All right, I'm going to use the alligation alternate method to solve both of these problems. If you're a big fan of the algebra one, you should be able to get the same answers at the end. And if you don't, just feel free to contact me with your work and I can take a look at it if you want to. So the first problem asks how many milliliters of 15% and 50% solutions should be mixed to obtain 1 pint of a 35% solution. So our tic-tac-toe says that the middle square should be our desired, and the upper left is the bigger of, and the lower left is the smaller. And so if we crisscross, the number of parts of 50% that we need is 20. 35 minus 15 gives us 20 parts of 50%. And the parts of the smaller is 50 minus 35, so 15 parts of 15%. And we want to know how many mils. Let's start with the 15%. How many mils of 15%? We pair that quantity up with its number of parts. 15 parts of 15%. And we want to obtain 1 pint of 35%. So that's the one that's given to us. That's 473 mils from our conversion chart. 473 mils of 35%. And then, whoops, how many parts of 35%? We have 20 parts 50. We have 15 parts 15. Well, if we mix these two together, we get 35%. So that tells us we have 20 plus 15, or 35 parts of 35%. That just happened to work out right, so that the number of parts is the same as the percentage. It doesn't always do that. 35 parts, 35%. So cross multiply, and x is 203 mils of 15%. Okay, we also need to know the mils of 50% that we'll want to add. So we could set up a second proportion. It's probably easier though just to say let's take the total volume and subtract the volume of the 15%, and whatever's left, 270 mils, is the volume of the other solution, 50%. So 203 mils of 15%, 270 mils of 50%. Fortification problem. Center square, the desired concentration is 25%. We're going to be adding drug, 100%, so that goes in the upper left, and then the smaller concentration goes in the bottom left. Crisscross tells us we have 20 parts, 100%, 75 parts, 5%. And we want to know the amount of drug, so we want how many grams of 100%. We'll pair that up with the number of parts we calculated. 20 parts should be 100%. And we are given a quantity. We're given the quantity of 5%. So we'll put that in. 250 grams, 5%, and the number of parts of 5%. So 75 parts, 5%. Now, if we were given an amount of 25%, that's when we would have to add these two together, and we would get 95 parts of 25%, and would pair up the amount of 25% we were given with 95 parts. But the given this time was the number of grams of 5%. So that's what we use in our proportion. So cross multiply, 20 times 250 divided by 75, and x is 66 and 2/3 grams of the 100%.